Now, I am actually live now. Hey guys, welcome to the show. So, of course, we are talking about quite a bit of news today. We are talking about both weeks' news. First, we need to go for a quick break here for about, a couple minutes. But before that, I'll just quickly go over what we're going to cover. So we're going to be covering Threads launching in the EU, and we're also going to be covering a load of stories from the past 2 weeks. So we'll get into that in a moment.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, hey guys, welcome back to the stream. So if you're watching, we're just about to start the recording in a minute. But first, we will load up. I'll put into my clipboard the first story, and then we'll get started. Okay, so now let's actually hit record. So we are now recording. Hey guys, welcome to the Sandro Linux Community Podcast. Merry Christmas. Is it too early for that? I don't know. But today we are covering the news from the last 2 weeks. So we're covering Threads launching in the EU very soon, as well as quite a few other stories. So as you can see, we have a lot more news than some of the previous weeks to go over. So it's very much tech news based this week. So hello, Piggis. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
So today we'll be talking about the tech news stories. So why don't we jump into the first one? So Apple is moving a quarter of its iPhone production to India in the next few years. So apparently, according to a Wall Street Journal report, this will take place, and this will mean that 50 million iPhones will be made in India per year. So that would be quite a bit of production going on in India. And of course, because of the ongoing geopolitical tensions between China and the US, it might be quite important for Apple to diversify here and actually make stuff in countries which have a bit less tension with the US, where they will be able to continue manufacturing even if trade restrictions with China, become even more of a problem. So overall, it's an interesting story. I mean, of course, for quite a while, Apple have been talking about moving more of this production to India for quite a few years now. But this does appear to be more of a concrete plan to do so. And of course, we've already seen some iPhone production go to India. However, not on this scale. I mean, a quarter of iPhones is quite a decent amount of them. And with the amount of iPhones that are made per year, this will be quite a big production shift. Do you have any thoughts on this, Piggis? Any thoughts on this story? Okay.
No.
Okay, so moving right along to the next story. And of course, if you want to comment on any of these stories, guys, make sure to head on over to the YouTube live chat. Or if you're watching afterwards, you can, of course, comment. So, iOS 17 now has a journaling app. So, we previously covered this in a previous week's show. However, now it's actually rolled out. So you can do these journal entries using this new journaling app. And yeah, overall, it's another app for the Apple ecosystem. And it is, you know, a bit of an addition for iPhone users if they want to, you know, have a bit more of a Apple experience when it comes to journaling. This is quite a good option for that. However, of course, you know, it's Apple. Apple, of course, you know, get accused of trying to build a walled garden. So they're, of course, going to try and stop people from saying that, you know, they're trying to build a walled garden so people can't just switch platforms. However, of course, this is an own brand app. And therefore, I guess, you know, they're not too worried here about regulators accusing them of, you know, being some sort of monopoly. Have you got any thoughts, Piggis, on this? Okay, so moving right along to the next story here. So we're moving to the Android news. So Android 12 apparently will now automatically send medical data during 911 calls. So this is an interesting new feature for Android. And apparently if you're on any Android OS higher than Android 12, then you will receive this new feature. So it uses a thing called Rapid SOS to allow first responders to access this medical data. So this could actually be quite helpful. This is quite a helpful use of, you know, medical data by Google here. Because if you do have certain medical issues and if you kind of want to report that during a 911 call, this could be very helpful. And of course, you know, this is another way of 911 responders being able to, you know, deal with people's calls and be able to act in a better way. Do you have any thoughts, Piggis? Okay, so my final thoughts on this are it's pretty good that, you know, they've rolled out this new feature. It can give first responders and people who actually you know, need this information, the information they need, much faster than a person who might not be able to actually tell them the details they need, or maybe, you know, not in the right state of mind to. So, you know, this is a pretty cool feature. Of course, if you're going to give your personal data to a company, I suppose this is a better use of that data. I mean, you know, overall, not everybody wants to give their data, such as their blood type and their age to Google. However, you can if you want to, and this could be pretty helpful for people over in the US. So moving right along to the next story, Google is apparently gradually rolling out Video Boost to the Pixel 8 Pro. Apparently this Video Boost feature will allow you to basically improve the look of your video, and yeah, effectively this will allow you to have better colors, lighting, and it will improve detail apparently. So this is another kind of AI enhancement type thing where it tries to improve your image using, AI clearly. But of course, it depends on whether you want to have your images edited to look perfect or whether you want something a bit more realistic, where, you actually get a bit more of a realistic look and it doesn't just look like a artificially improved image. But I guess that's your choice. This is a pretty cool feature if you want to make things look a bit better, pop a bit more. Then maybe this is a feature you would like to use. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that, Pigus? I'm going to take that as none. So let's continue onward. So apparently some Android phones, so some Samsung phones are missing months of Google Play system updates. So this affects the Galaxy S23, Z Fold 5, S22, and A33. So this is a pretty big problem for people using those phones, because, you should definitely update your Google Play services, because if they're exploited, that's a pretty big bit of your system to leave vulnerable. And apparently we currently don't actually know the cause of this problem, but it is a problem affecting these phones. So if you do own one of these handsets, then please, take care when it comes to Google Play updates, and just watch out for the Samsung's response to this, because I do imagine they will roll out the updates soon. But yeah, not really the best thing for Samsung. However, we don't really know what's causing it, so we can't really currently put the blame on Samsung or anybody else. Any thoughts, Pigus? As I've said before, but... Okay, moving on again. And of course, yeah, you can talk in the chat if you want to. So, the Google Play Store has a cubes feature, and apparently it is now starting to take shape. So the cubes widget is a new feature and a new development with the Google Play Store. So apparently this will be a widget that you can place on your home screen if you own an Android phone. And effectively it will allow you to access apps and different categories of apps on your home screen. So this is meant to be more of a centralized hub for the Play Store. That's how these people talking about the potential feature are kind of marketing it. So, that appears to be what will, how this feature will take form. And we'll just have to wait and see what Google does with this feature. But it does look pretty interesting. We haven't seen anything like this on Apple or Google devices previously. So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, so apparently Anarchy Racing said, Android rules. So thank you for saying that in the chat. And yeah, if you want to respond to that, if you want to say iPhone is actually the best, you can respond if you want. But yeah, thanks for the comment. Now, moving on to the next story here. It's the distro releases. Maybe we can get Piggis to respond to this one a bit more. Hello, Piggis, are you here?
Yeah.
I mean, I've just been going ahead here, Piggis, because you've been somewhat responding, somewhat not responding to my have you got any thoughts? So I will just continue to the Linux news here. So we're talking about Sparky Linux 7.2. So that's apparently the latest release of Sparky. So it's apparently called Orion Belt or Orion Belt. And, you know, of course they're naming it after that certain thing in the universe. And basically, it adds some features, a few things. It's mainly just basic updates to the latest versions of packages. However, yeah, it's a few updates here and there. However, it is quite incremental, from what I can tell. And of course, it's compatible with Debian 12, so it's based on Debian 12. But that is basically it when it comes to the features. So not really much this week when it comes to Sparky Linux. A bit of a kind of, you know, another one of these distro releases which aren't really too engaging because, you know, they're just incremental. However, they are necessary for, you know, the continuation of a distro. Have you got any thoughts, Piggis? Do you see anything beyond the basic upgrades here?
Yeah, not really, no.
Okay. So, moving on to the next story. So, let me see here. Whoa. PC Gamer. So, I don't know if we covered this. Did we cover this a previous week? Native Steam Link support for MetaQuest headsets? I have a sneaking suspicion we did, or maybe I wrote the notes before I didn't do the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was this in the previous week's news, Piggis? Do you remember?
I don't recall any of that, no.
Okay, I think it's just me writing notes before I then don't do a show. So, yeah, so, of course, we're covering both weeks' news here. So, there's, you know, a bit more this week. But, so, Steam Link support is apparently being promised to, you know, simplify life for VR gamers. And apparently this includes giving Steam Link support for these MetaQuest headsets. So, apparently only 1.23% of Steam users have a VR headset according to the latest hardware survey on Steam. However, you know, they're trying to increase the amount of people using their VR headset with Steam. And now they are allowing you to stream VR games from your Steam library to your Quest 2 or your Quest 3 or your Quest Pro headset. So if you're on any of the older platforms, you're out of luck here. However, if you're on one of the more up-to-date Quest headsets, then you can use Steam Link here. And apparently it was already previously possible to access Steam VR games through Oculus Air Link or Virtual Desktop. However, this will simplify things for gamers a bit here, given it kind of eliminates the middleman and allows for, you know, easier gaming, I suppose, and slightly less setup for the gamer. Do you have any thoughts, Piggis, as a Steam gamer but not a VR user?
Not really, no.
Okay, so moving right along to the broadband and cellular news. So today we are covering only UK stories. Sorry guys. Sorry, Piggus, I mean mainly, because you are not from the UK, so not really too relevant to you guys. Not in the UK. But Sky is apparently putting the Sky Mobile and Sky Broadband team into one team. So apparently, this is a new thing that Sky are doing, integrating both teams together. So they haven't exactly said why they're doing this. However, it's probably just for cost savings, given it's easier to maintain one team than two teams. And of course, this could indicate that maybe they're not really, maybe they're not really going to be pushing that much on the mobile or broadband front. Maybe one of those might fall by the wayside. I suspect if either of them fell by the wayside, it would be Sky Mobile, given it is currently not particularly popular here in the UK, and it's only it's only a virtual network, and I think it piggybacks off of one of the big networks. So really, if they shut it down, it probably wouldn't affect that many customers. And I do wonder how many people actually use it, but they appear to be keeping it for now. They appear to be combining these two teams together, and it will be interesting to see what this new management structure will bring for Sky. This small bit of restructuring here. Have you got any thoughts on this restructuring, Piggus? I suspect that's a no, given, it's not really relevant to you. So, let's continue on. I did not mean to Google that. Let's continue on. So, E is apparently launching a EE TV service. So, this will have Apple TV and free multi-room. So, apparently, this will allow you to stream stuff if you're an EE customer, and it will allow you to access TV on, your box. So, of course, previously there have been BT TV services. However, with BT recently announcing that they're pivoting to the EE brand long term for branding of consumer services, this is kind of reflects that with this new rollout. So, of course, they're trying to increase the presence of the EE brand and trying to reduce the presence of BT, given they think probably that EE is slightly more of a up-to-date brand, slightly more modern, and has slightly less of a bad reputation. So that's my personal thoughts on why they are making this move. However, if you're a EE customer, I suppose this will be quite good for you, because now you can choose to have TV as well as your broadband, so that's pretty cool. And of course, this is a relatively attractive offer. If it's like previous EE services, it will come in at a competitive price point. And with a one-time activation fee of £30, it's not the worst in the industry, and it's pretty interesting to see this change when it comes to the BT group. Now, moving on to the next story. Unless Piggus wants to comment, because we did cover previously the BT rebranding to EE. Kind of interesting story, I guess. For us, our UK viewers. However, that appears to be a no, so let's continue on, or at least an assumed no. So, gigabit broadband has covered at least 80% of the UK population now. So that's interesting. So gigabit rolled out quite a few places all over the UK, And of course, in all the big cities, it is already here. And apparently that means that it now constitutes 80% of homes. So now that means that you can get super fast broadband in most places in the UK, unless you live in some bits of Wales or Scotland, where the availability is slightly less, then you will probably be able to access gigabit broadband. Now, of course, if you live in a more rural area, that does, of course, affect speeds. However, it still offers you the opportunity to have gigabit if you are in one of these more urban areas. Now, of course, there is the fact that a lot of this is being dominated by Virgin Media, rolling out a lot of gigabit broadband. And, of course, Virgin Media is only one provider. I mean, they have been kind of suggesting potentially that they may actually license out their broadband, bandwidth. However, right now they are not licensing it out to any other providers. They're not selling their broadband to other providers. However, of course, the previous week saw the interesting news in the previous week's show that in Ireland they reached a deal with Free, I think. I need to go back here. What was the story again? Let me see here. Yes, so apparently Sky reached a wholesale broadband agreement with Virgin Media in Ireland. And that does show that Virgin Media might be willing to compromise a bit when it comes to potentially selling their broadband to other companies. And if they do, it might open up a realm of more competition, with OpenReach seeing more competition. So BT might have to maybe potentially be more competitive if Virgin Media allow other companies to use their broadband. Do you have any thoughts, Pigus? Okay. So moving right along to the stories, there's a lot of them today. The miscellaneous, the spontaneous section. You know, who knows what will happen this week, but I'm guessing a lot of news. So, this is one story that Pigus brought to me. So, Pigus, do you want to cover this one, or do you not want to cover this one? What do you want to do?
You can cover it, so.
Okay, thanks. So, Apple has launched the MLX machine learning framework for Apple Silicon. So, Apple's machine learning teams have, been working on some machine learning technology, and they've been making some interesting strides towards, new machine learning technology. But this new MLX will is apparently not a consumer facing tool, but it will actually allow developers to use a powerful environment within which they can build ML models. So, of course, machine learning has been an increasingly competitive and interesting space. AI and machine learning have both been kind of buzzwords recently. A lot of people talking about AI projects, about machine learning, and of course, with all this attention comes a lot of money being spent on development. So this is quite a big thing coming from Apple, and I don't fully understand. I think this is open source, the MLX stuff, but I am not totally sure. I mean, Pigus, given that you gave me this story, is this open source or not?
Yeah, it's on GitHub.
Yeah, so it is open source, so that's quite good from Apple. Of course, Apple do have some open source stuff with the Darwin stuff that they have to publish, because of licensing, effectively. So not really out of the goodness of their hearts. Often when Apple resort to open source, it's really because they have to. Because as a company in general, they're not really that, big fans of open source. They've had this quite closed attitude towards it for a long time. And even when companies like Microsoft kind of changed their tune a bit when it came to open source, they tried to maybe improve their image a bit by saying that open source is actually good and that they're going to be an open source first company and stuff like that. That was quite a change of tune from Microsoft in the early 2010s and, mid 2010s, I guess. But, of course, Apple just haven't really took the same path as Microsoft and Google when it comes to open source. They've been a lot more closed off. They've been a lot more kind of, our ecosystem is the best, and, if you want a deal with Apple products, then you better, deal with Apple, I guess. They took a lot more of a proprietary software attitude towards things, which makes this development a bit more interesting, given it's not every day that you see Apple release something through GitHub. Do you have any other thoughts, Pigus? Or did that sum it up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, moving on to the next story. Quite a big one here. And yes, before you ask, I will cover the Fred story. It's in a couple stories, guys. We're gonna get there. Now, so this is an interesting one. I probably shouldn't have pulled it from Yahoo News. I will fix that very quickly, and I will get you the original story, because I don't really like linking Yahoo News. Here it is. So, Engadget reported that Google's AI-infused notebook note-taking app is now available to everybody in the US. So, of course, this open source, not open source, what I'm talking about. So this note-taking app is, taking advantage of AI technology from Google, and it's now available to the general public. So this will allow you to interact with a personalized AI, which will apparently deal with information from source materials that you choose. So that's quite an interesting feature, allowing you to pick where the AI gets its information from, so it doesn't get its information from pretty much anywhere, and instead it focuses on some materials which you want it to focus on. Maybe because, they're the actual correct materials, or, they're most helpful to your application. And, yeah, this is a pretty cool language. This is a pretty cool AI model. This is a pretty cool new project here. And of course, it now being available to US customers means that, a lot more people will be able to try this out. And I don't know when it's coming to Europe. I'm not sure if it has been launched here already, or whether it will be coming at a later date. I guess we'll just have to see when it comes. Have you seen this before, Pigus? Have you seen this notebook LM stuff?
Yeah, no, I have not heard about it now.
Yeah, it looks quite interesting, to be fair. I think it could have some potential, allowing you to learn based on this AI, which uses information that you give it, the information that you want. I think it's quite a nice, novel concept, to be honest. And I think it's a pretty cool development from Google. Now, of course, you could have the worry that maybe this could be using your personal data that you upload to it, if you decide to upload your personal data to actually train the model. Now, Google say they're not going to do this. However, of course, Google might go back on their promise. They might be doing something in secret. Who knows? I would personally suggest you don't upload anything personally sensitive to this language, to this model, because who knows what the AI could do with it and whether it could actually be trained on this data, or it could leak otherwise. Do you have any thoughts on that, Pigus? Do you think that's a worry that should be a prescient concern for people, or not?
I mean, it's like the GitHub Copilot, you know, um, which is essentially just using all the public repositories.
Yeah, I mean,
And there's a lot of times when you ask it to give you some code and it's just straight off copies from some other repo.
yeah, that is quite a big problem. I've heard about the about the Copilot that it does just copy stuff from other projects, and it's a bit of a problem. You can't be doing that, really.
Yeah,
That's
the
not that's
problem is like
plagiarism.
licensing and stuff.
Yeah, that's plagiarism.
You have the right. Do you have the right to have that in your code
Y-
without any like
y-
copyright notice?
yeah, you should probably give somebody attribution for that, even if it is open source code.
Mm.
And of course, if it's a GPL licensed thing, who knows if you're actually in compliance with the license? What if it turns out it's like an anti-GPL license and you're using the GPL licenses? Then you might be in a bit of trouble. So I would be careful when it comes to Copilot in that in that front, I guess. I mean, could that happen, Pigus? Do you think?
Mm.
Yeah, I reckon it could, which would be quite a big problem for the developer. Now, we'll move on to the next story here. Excuse me. Prime is piloting a $9.99 monthly grocery subscription for Prime members in 3 cities. So this is apparently a new thing for Prime members. So this will be for people in Denver, in Colorado, Sacramento, in California, and Columbus, in Ohio. So this is some random places, to be quite honest with you. So this is interesting. However, these are clearly trial markets for this new Amazon grocery subscription. So we'll just have to see what happens with this new subscription, and whether it will actually take off or not. Now, of course, people do complain about Amazon trying to form a monopoly, and valid concern that it is quite bad. Amazon trying to take control of all aspects of buying things. It's probably not good to have a monopolist like that. However, then again, it could, it's not too bad. Amazon do have some competition. You can argue it both ways. Do you have any thoughts, Vegas?
No.
Okay, I should probably get a drink in a minute because my voice is kind of. Does my voice sound alright, Pigus?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I should probably get a drink at some stage anyway, but I'll continue on with the stories a bit, unless you want to cover any. I'm sure you can do it, Pigus.
Yeah, I haven't read any one of them before.
Okay, so let's continue on then. So Threads is launching in Europe on December the 14th. So Threads is, of course, a big service in the US. It's grown rapidly, and of course, it's competing with Twitter. Actually, X is now called X. I always forget that. Need to remember. So Threads, of course, is quite a big service now in the US, and it's trying to expand out to Europe now. And when Elon Musk bought X, there was some controversy when it came to the way he was leading it, and of course that gave an opening for Threads. However, it's quite a big platform, Threads now, but of course it's owned by Meta, so it's already got the backing of a massive company, which does mean that, all of the creepy privacy policies of Facebook and now Meta do probably apply to Threads. I mean, they had a bit of compliance issues in Europe when it came to, they wanted to track certain data that just wouldn't be allowed in the European Union. But now they've apparently got to compliance, and apparently they're now launching this app in Europe. So if you want to use Instagram Threads, or now just Threads, I guess, then you can check it out. And if you're in Europe, you can wait for the launch. However, personally, I'm not on Instagram. You can check me out on X, you can check me out on Mastodon, you can check me out on all these platforms, but not really Instagram. I stay away from it personally. But, of course, there is quite a big user base of Meta apps. Do you have any thoughts, Pigus? I mean, I know you're not really a kind of person to use Threads. I mean,
Yeah, no.
However, it's interesting to hear people's thoughts on it, even if they don't use it. What are people thinking when it comes to it? Yeah. Because, quite a big growth in user base in quite a short period when it came to Threads, even though it didn't launch originally in the European market.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Google is apparently allowing you to make AI-generated Chrome themes. So this will be a future update, apparently. So this is currently a Chrome Canary feature. And apparently, it's just an option that says that you can AI generate a theme. And I guess it could be interesting to see what an AI comes up with. I mean, there's already a lot of good themes for Chrome. However, it is, you might want to get a different theme. And if you do, then, maybe you can let an AI take charge. I don't know what it will try and make, but I guess you can just wait and see. Because right now, it's only on Chrome Canary, and even that looks quite limited. So you'll have to probably wait and see when it comes to this. But overall, just an interesting feature from Google. What do you think, Pigus?
Cool.
Yes, so moving on to the next story. I don't know if this is a good story to cover. I don't know. Saudi Arabia's futuristic NEOM project. Apparently, I'm not covering the kind of political aspect to this. Exclude this bit of the title. So, apparently, their NEOM project is working with Volocopter on flying electric taxis for transportation. And this is quite an interesting concept, flying taxis. I mean, Volcopter have already been working on the technology for flying devices in cities. And now, of course, they're trying to go all the way to an actual flying car. So, that's interesting. I mean, who knows if this flying taxi idea will work. But if it does, then it will be somebody's childhood dream come true. Do you have any thoughts, Pigus?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a... I'm not really sure what utility this will have, but, sure. Saudi
Yeah, I
Arabia...
mean, it wouldn't.
Sorry, yeah.
Feels like it would be kind of expensive to
Yeah,
take such a taxi.
yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia just put money at things and hope that it will, attract some attention potentially. Maybe, make money back for them in the long run, because they're very oil based economy. So they have a lot of money, so they can spend it on all sorts of stuff. Apparently, including trying to put flying taxis in their new ultra expensive city project. So, I guess that's interesting. I guess, we'll have to wait and see where this goes. But it will be interesting to see in the future. Because, flying cars was always a thing that people were saying might never happen, but maybe it might happen one day. We're already seeing some flying vehicles, but whether it will actually be a transportation method of the future, probably not, but, it's interesting to see. Anyway, would you like to cover this one? Piggis, given that you're a resident Linux user. Check. No, don't worry, I'll cover. The System D gets the blue screen of death. It's a feature that everybody's been waiting for. I can't believe it. Now if you're using Windows, you can switch over to Linux in full knowledge that you will be able to keep your favorite error. So, of course, this is an interesting, idea to, include this little Easter egg, I guess, using the blue screen of death on Linux. However, this is, of course, just a bit of an Easter egg, I guess, just a bit of an interesting, kind of copycat thing, but it's kind of funny, to be fair. And, System D have decided to do that as one of the most hated projects in Linux for, I don't know what reason. Look, don't attack me on either side of System D debate. Look, I don't want to get into System D, whether it's good or not. But, System D is quite a big project when it comes to Linux, and so this is kind of a funny thing for them to do. Do you have any thoughts, Piggis? I mean, it does give actual error data. I mean, that's one thing.
I mean, yeah, it is pretty useful because like there is error messages you still get even before this, but it's much more like user friendly when they do it like this.
Yeah, and it also looks a lot more like Windows from a long time ago. So yes.
Yeah. Did you know there was someone who commented about this, saying like if they were reviewing this pull request, they would laugh at it.
Yes. Well, it is a very interesting design. I don't get why they get this inspiration from. To be fair, I can't see it at all.
Yeah.
But potentially somebody might have done this before. I don't know.
I think it is for the better, for user friendliness, for like non-technical users to troubleshoot their computers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean this.
That you will get the QR code, which you could just scan and get better information about it.
Yeah, but yeah. So of course, this article does mention that networked PCs in macOS are represented with a beige CRT, displaying a blue screen of death. Yes, I've seen it before, and yes, it is a thing. So, there's that, and now there's an even newer reference to the blue screen of death. Now, moving on to the next story here. Here's a story from Android Police. So, Google Calendar will now allow you to switch between creating events and tasks on the fly. So, is this the end of multi-tiered fab? Who knows? Probably. It's apparently a menu system on Google Calendar, I think, Piggis. I think that's what it is. I think it's the thing in the thumbnail here, if you can see it on screen. So, yeah. So, maybe if you're an avid Google Calendar user, this will be very good for you. However, most people don't use Google Calendar that much. Most people aren't really care caring about the multi-tiered floating action fabs, floating action buttons. You know, it's a very niche thing. However, for those users who do use Google Calendar and are kind of fanatical about using Google Calendar, or if you just, you know, enjoy it, I guess, this is an interesting update. Maybe improving the AI, the UI a little bit. Have you got?
Improving AI.
Yeah, I nearly said AI. It's been so much AI this episode. I mean, I just need to get my mind out of it. But yes, there are no more AI. There are no more AI stories, so you know, I need to get it out of my mind for the next 5 stories. Yes, we have got 5 stories left. Anyway, moving on to the next story. So apparently, Switch is exiting South Korea as a market because of the sending party pays scandal. So I haven't actually really heard about this scandal much because, you know, I don't really spend much time looking at Twitch and their many controversies. However, you know, this is apparently a controversy which is caused by less efficient traffic flows, higher prices, and lower quality content. So that's apparently what it's caused. However, I am not totally sure what it actually is. It does look like a bit of a problem though. And, you know, apparently in South Korea, network fees are 10 times more expensive than in other countries. So maybe they need to leave the market. Maybe it's not profitable for them. You know, they'll just have to do that, I guess. But it's sad for the South Korean markets. It's sad for the South Korean market. And apparently this is a new fee which it has been imposed by the South Korean, you know, internet service provider. And yeah, this is basically quite a big thing in South Korea, I think. But yeah, I haven't really been following this story, but it's quite a big one given that Twitch is leaving quite a major market. What do you think, Pigus?
Yeah, I don't know really. South Korea sued Netflix too. So like they sued Netflix for the same reasons. Because of like surging network traffics due to Squid Game.
Yeah, I see that on the article here. So that's interesting.
It's like South Korea has some internet bandwidth problems.
Yeah. I mean, they have had quite fast internet for quite a long time, but maybe they are having bandwidth issues. Now, moving on to the next story here. So apparently, WhatsApp has now added secret codes for chats, lock chats. So apparently, it will allow you to open lock chats much easier. So apparently, you know, you'll now just have to add something before, you know, what you're searching, and that will allow you to access your locked chats. So that's pretty cool, allowing for secret codes here. So it might be slightly easier to access those hidden messages. So, you know, you don't use WhatsApp, Pigus, so there's not really much to be discussing, unless you want to say anything.
Yeah.
Also, hello, famous Maslina. I'm gonna go with that. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Hello. Welcome to the stream. So, you know, next story that we're going to be covering here. So Apple TV Plus is apparently might be bundling with Paramount Plus to cut subscriber losses. So Paramount Plus previously had a similar deal with Showtime. However, this could be a bit more of a big deal, given that Paramount Plus is, in more markets, and Apple TV is also in a lot of markets, and they're both quite big streaming services. So if they combine, then it could be quite a big bundle for users. Now, of course, they've been struggling, Apple TV and Paramount Plus. So, with these recent 7% loss of subscribers in October, it's not looking good for these streaming services. However, they might be able to cut their losses a small bit here by actually bundling together and providing that better value. We could see a bit of a price increase with this bundle. However, it's probably better to have more content for slightly more than less content. So you have to consider that, and it will depend on what markets this actually happens in. Given that this might only happen in the US market, we'll have to see, what the final deal is. But this is quite an interesting development when it comes to Apple TV Plus. Do you have any thoughts, Pigus?
I I haven't really heard about those like bundles before.
No, it's only been a thing with a few services. I mean, I know that Disney Plus had a bit of a deal going with a different provider in India. I heard about that. So that was interesting. But
Isn't like Paramount available on Disney Plus?
Paramount, I mean, I don't think Paramount Plus is available on Disney Plus.
I've watched it
Oh, there might be
sometimes.
certain Paramount shows on Disney Plus. Also, it does depend on your market, Pigus, because you're in, of course, you're in Sweden, so things are slightly different depending on where you are. Here we have Paramount Plus, and we also have, and we also have, Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus. So we have quite a few options here. But, I don't know what the case is in Sweden. You guys probably have some slightly different streaming options. I don't know. You can probably answer that one, Pigus. I don't know. Also, yes, thank you for saying that, I almost got the pronunciation. Maybe next time I can get it spot on. Who knows, guys? If you turn back up next week, might be able to nail the pronunciation. I don't know. But yes, thank you for turning up. If you want to discuss any of the stories, you can in the chat. Anybody can discuss in the chat a bit about these stories or talk about a different tech news story or news story in general they want to talk about. We can kind of discuss a bit more about different stories near the end of the show. Because then we can run over a bit. And, it's cool discussing with you guys different stuff when it comes to the tech news. And it's always good talking to viewers. Anyway, moving on to the next story, guys. Apparently, Microsoft will no longer reward you for daily searches in Edge. So previously they gave you more rewards points for using the Edge browser. However, this left many people unhappy when they took away this big, this rewards program. But we're not currently sure what will happen to Microsoft rewards. I mean, previously there was stuff like Give with Bing, which allowed you to give your Microsoft rewards points to charity, or of course you could use your rewards points for gift cards. However, now you're no longer going to get the benefits if you use Edge. Excuse me. So you'll no longer get any extra benefits for using Edge. So that's kind of annoying for people who are using Microsoft Edge. However, I don't really know how many people would actually be using the Microsoft Edge browser and actually signing up to this program. I mean, if you're a viewer and you actually want to say, hey, I used this program, it was really helpful, I really liked it, you can. Personally, I didn't use it, but I'm sure there's some people out there that did use Edge with the rewards feature. There are some interesting features with Edge as a Chromium-based browser. However, they're getting rid of the rewards program here, and of course, maybe it wasn't profitable for Microsoft to keep this rewards feature. However, it is sad for those who wanted to get those points to either do good or maybe, get gift cards or whatever. Well, that avenue may have closed now to, get a bit of free, stuff, I guess. So yeah. So you said, somebody said in the chat, I hate that. I used to search 5 times a day to get rewarded on Microsoft Bing. So that's interesting. Somebody actually using Bing to, get some rewards points. I mean, binging random stuff to get some rewards points. I did that a couple times. But, of course, I never used Edge to try and get the extra rewards points. I never went to that extent. But, of course, there must be users out there who did that. So, another thing that famous Messalina, I'm going to say Messalina, said in the chat, I tried grinding points once. It took me a long time to actually earn, 6k points to get a gift card. Yeah, I can't imagine it might take quite a while to earn enough points to actually gain, the actual rewards. So if you were actually trying to, earn some stuff from using Microsoft Edge and Bing, then it might be quite hard. It might take you quite a long time. However, if you, persisted, maybe you could earn some points. Hello, all of the other viewers. I see I've currently got 6 viewers. So hello, guys. But Piggis, do you want to discuss it all? The library news, because there's been a bit of news when it comes to library, when it comes to some changes when it comes to the structure of the foundation, because the councils have been abolished, as I understand. Somebody new has come in to try and restructure it a bit, give some ideas, BJ. So, do you want to talk a bit about what's been going on, as a board member, I guess?
The admin now, yeah.
An admin. Okay, so do you want to discuss what's been going on? You have a bit more perspective than me, because, you are, yeah.
Yeah, we're just trying to get user community input on how the foundation should be run.
Okay, so you're getting a bit of input from the community on, because I did see that you can, in the Library Foundation Discord server, do a community suggestion. I personally put one in for myself. I see that you put one in. A lot of people related to the Library Foundation have put one in. People involved in the community. So that's cool. But yeah, it's interesting to see more activity when it comes to library. Of course, the SEC case did kind of deal the Library Foundation a bit of a bad hand when it came to, of course, Library Inc. going bankrupt and Odysee losing you know, actually losing quite a bit of money and having to resort to other means. You know, not actually moving slightly away from library. I mean, you know, what are your thoughts, Pickers?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
On.
I mean, like, when it comes to, you know, the future direction of the Foundation, I mean, right now, there's Odysee, of course, but, you know, we can't really be sure how long that'll be around for, right?
I mean, there have been plans for the foundation to set up its own front end for it,
You
but
see,
we'll see how that goes, though.
a new YouTube alternative front end, you know, a new
Uh,
library front end would actually be very interesting
yeah,
because right now we've only got,
sort of.
yeah,
Mhm.
right now we've only really got Odyssey to use, and of course, although Odyssey is good, it's always better to have more alternatives. And if you can have a portal to see content, then of course, you know, the community can build upon that, and we could see some quite interesting stuff happen.
Mm. Yeah, the idea is to make it like more self-hostable, like Library TV was.
Um, yeah, it would be good. so, um, so that's pretty much the news. Hopefully,
To make it like more
yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this week, guys. Thank you for watching. You know, if you want to comment in the chat, you know, you can. You know, these are the last moments to do so. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. Check out the Discord server, sandronets.com/discord, and I'll see you in the next one. Pigus, would you like to say bye?
self.